Hi, everyone, and a great welcome from the European Shiatsu Federation to this year's Quintalogue on the subject of Shiatsu and money. My name is Irene Nolte, and I'm the Vice President of the European Shiatsu Federation. And typically or traditionally, the Quintalogue kicks off the June Shiatsu Without Borders month. And just as a reminder, this month is all about raising awareness around, shiatsu in general and so many initiatives that people do. And so we'd like to encourage all the viewers to send us your initiatives, to tag the European Shiatsu Federation with your initiatives, and just to send us all the information you do around this month. So for this year's Quintalogue, I have four wonderful guests that we're going to be interviewing, that I'm going to be interviewing. We have Kindy Kaur from the UK. So Kindy is the director of the British School of Shiatsu in Nottingham. Welcome, Kindy.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting.
We have Mike Mandl from Austria. So Mike has been practicing Shiatsu for more than 30 years, and he's the director of the International Academy for Hara Shiatsu. He has so many initiatives. He's also heading the Shiatsu Summit and the e-learning platform Das Zentrum. Welcome, Mike.
Thanks a lot for the invitation.
Then we have Fabian Bastianelli from Belgium. Fabian is also, he's been practicing for 25 years and he's the co-director of the Odo Shiatsu School in Belgium. Welcome, Fabian.
Hi, everyone.
And Anne, who is originally from Norway, but has been extremely active in the shiatsu scene in Greece, but she's now also very active in setting up the Norwegian Shiatsu Society. Welcome, Anne.
Thank you very much for having me.
Okay, so before plunging into the subject, first of all, I would like to welcome all our viewers and also to encourage everyone who's watching to send us your comments and your questions. So of course, I've prepared many questions, but if you have a burning question that arises, do write it in the chat. And we have to see in terms of time, how much time will be available at the end, but everyone, we have people reading your questions. And to the extent that we can, we will then pick them up at the end of the talk. We've realized that shiatsu and money has raised not just one eyebrow, but two, the subject. It's really, really necessary to talk about. I think in shiatsu circles, we very often talk about spiritual matters, about educational matters. But this is kind of, and these are absolutely vital and essential, but this is kind of getting to the nitty-gritty, right? Shiatsu and money. And money of itself and in itself is such a loaded subject. It touches so many different layers. On the one hand, we need it in the outside world, right? Because we all have to pay our bills, we all have to make a living, we all need to communicate and organize our lives. And yet it is also deeply personal and linked to so many values and so many beliefs and so on. So first of all, it goes without saying, we need money to, for basic necessities, food, shelter, day-to-day life. So with that, of course, there can arise this fear of not earning enough, of not making enough, of not being able to master your day-to-day life with our profession. Then, of course, it comes and knocks at so many inherited or acquired beliefs, for instance, that money doesn't grow on trees, or rich people are greedy and money is inherently wrong or bad. We don't talk about money. So money is so inherently charged for many people that I think it's absolutely necessary and vital to address these kind of issues. Obviously, it's all about, for some, money is about freedom, choice, and impact. And yet for some, it represents greed and corruption. And so ultimately, if we really look at it, money is rarely just about money. It is about so much more, and it is so emotionally charged for many people. So I hope this conversation is going to be healing. I hope it's going to be informative for everyone, and yeah, let's plunge right in it. I thought it could be really nice to start with a personal question, and that would be, can you remember the very first time you earned money with Shiatsu? What did you feel? How was that for you? Like, what did it bring up in you? Kindy, perhaps we can start with you.
Yes. Yes, I can very clearly remember when I first started to earn money with Shiatsu. It was when I was a third year student, my final year student. So as part of our training, we had a transition year. We called ourselves probationary practitioners. So we were starting to learn how to charge money. And I remember receiving an exchange for the shiatsu that I'd just given. And I was so excited. I mean, I could have framed that money and put it on the wall, and I didn't want to spend it. It felt so precious to me. And the fact that I was good enough to be paid, shiatsu was good enough to be paid, and I was good enough to be paid. That became more tricky when I'd finished my training, because right now I had permission from my training to charge. That changed and it became more challenging once I was out there on my own. And it was a very steep learning curve, and I'll talk about that later. But yeah, my initial reaction was excitement.
But I really like what you just said when you said starting to learn to charge. I do think it's a learning process, and I think that absolutely nails it, right? It's an inner journey. It's a journey of self-worth. It's a journey of self-discovery, and it's about learning to establish yourself in the outer world. Mike, what are your reflections and memories around that subject?
Well, I also started very early with charging for my shiatsu, but it was always kind of natural for me, a very natural development, because when I started with shiatsu, it was like, okay, this is what I want to do with my life. So a clear yes, this is what I want to do with my life. So I went to the school with the most professional training. And during our training, we had to do a lot of treatments, really a lot of treatments. We had to do like 400 treatments over 3 years. And we had to do like 100 treatments in a clinical setting. And this was a very valuable experience for me, because like, if you work in a hospital and you can prove yourself, against doctors, against physiotherapists, yeah, it is very healthy for your self-esteem, and you learn that what you do, there is a value attached to it. Really, what you do with your hands, there's a big value attached to it. So for me, it was not a question to charge for it. It was like very organic. What I do has a value. So I give, I receive. And I was happy to refinance my whole training already with what I got from my clients. So it was like when I ended my training, I already started to work with shiatsu. So for me, a very natural experience.
That's amazing, but it sounds like the school you were at was really instrumental in helping you going out there and immediately applying your knowledge, which I think is really important, because I think so many practitioners struggle. I mean, clearly, Mike, you didn't, but it sounds also like you were helped by an institutional setting to immediately have your skills applied in a very, maybe not supportive, but very relevant kind of framework. So I think that's really important for new students, for outgoing students, and perhaps even for schools to remember to maybe be a bridge and help, new practitioners land in the, so to speak, real world. What about you, Anne? How was it for you?
I can remember that I was training in England, in the UK, sorry, and then starting my practice in Athens, and it was a bit lonely, because I was very far away from everything where I was training, but I had this very clear goal. As Mike said, it was also what I wanted to do with my life. And I worked very hard in other jobs to kind of set up a small space where I could start my practice. And then from there, it felt quite natural, but it was not easy to bring people into this more professional space, because then I felt that when I was in a more professional space, it was easier to kind of to put myself forward as a shiatsu practitioner. Unfortunately, we also did a lot of treatments, but not in the way that Mike did. But it was very clear for me that I had to kind of have a goal and work to that goal and put my energy in one direction, and it kind of worked. And it felt good to be in the professional space. That was really helpful.
If I understand you correctly, Anne, you had a job on the side when you started off, like to support.
Yes, because it was not possible to go out there as a new shiatsu practitioner to just start working. And at that time, it was not that well known, and the network was not that big. So I just thought, okay, this is what I want to do. So the key goes where the mind goes, they say. So my mind was creating this space where I could do what I wanted to do, and take it from there. And to support this, I felt there was no problem for me to do whatever job I had to do in order to support this goal.
I just think it's so important to highlight that as well, because I think for some it can feel there can be a sense of failure if you don't immediately become this like superstar shiatsu practitioner, you know. So I think it's so important to always like remind ourselves that it's all about it's like the poster behind Fabian, it's about the path, right? It's the journey to walk it, and there is no right or wrong for sure. Fabian, how was it for you?
I don't remember the first time I asked money, but I had another job. So shiatsu was not my plan. It was a side plan. It was like a hobby. And I decided just to ask some money, just a symbolic price. And after some years, just a very known osteopath of my region called me and said, okay, now you are working with professional. We share clients, everyone, and you need to have a professional price. And I was really scared, really scared. And I said, no, it's okay. I think I just asked 20 euros, something like that, for 1 hour and a half. And he said to me, no, you now you work with professional and you need to think of a professional price. And as Kindy said, it's a learning. You have to learn a lot. There is a lot of question. What is my value? We need to be in the life and the cost of life. So we have a lot of question just to fit in your head and to step in.
Absolutely. And so, you know, picking up from exactly there, like what challenges have you faced in setting your rates? Has that been a journey, or has it been clear? Have your rates changed over the years, or did you have to learn and grow at that level as well? Maybe Fabian, I'll just send it back to you straight away.
I had to learn. So as I said, I began with 20 euro, and my osteopath at I think it's 25 years 25 years ago, he asked 70 euros. So going stepping, it's a jump. It's not a step, it's a jump. Going from 20 to 70, it was not possible for me. But I decided to charge 50 euro. And for me, it was a jump, but it changed a lot of things because I had to be more professional, more and more professional, and I had to enter the professional world with a lot of question. I have to find an accountant, and I need to find some specialist around me. So there is a lot of question, but it's a path, as you said. It's a path, and we just have to keep the movement.
Kindy, how is it like? Have you like faced some challenges, some inner doubts, some hesitation in setting your rates? I mean, I can speak for myself, you know, setting a certain price, but thinking, oh man, actually I would charge a lot, you know, I would like to charge more, but I don't dare. And then you kind of like hold a little grudge. Like, how has it been for you?
All of that. So, yeah, I think after some time, I realized that I needed to increase my prices, and I went through this inner journey of my beliefs, my self-worth around money, and you know those issues of if I charge more, will I lose clients, or will people think I'm greedy, or you know what does it say about me? So it raised all of those issues, but I realized, you know, after a while that I was undercharging. And as I was undercharging, I was also undervaluing myself and undervaluing shiatsu. And the consequence of that was that I was over delivering. So in order to prove to myself that I was worth it, I was doing a lot of treatments or treating for too long and not charging enough. And I was exhausted. And that led to resentment in the end, which is not a good place for healing, you know, that place of exhaustion, of resentment. And I realized that actually was that my prices, what I set my prices was actually about how I felt. So how it made me feel, I needed to feel valued. And I also needed to charge enough for me to step up to be the best that I could be. That if I undercharged, one, I became exhausted and resentful, but also I didn't need to give the best of my ability. And so in a way, it's actually been a service to me to charge more because it makes me step up and be the best that I can be. But it also, charging more has also helped me to, I realize the consequences of undervaluing, underpricing is that your pricing, your language, your presence is a reflection of your energetic frequency. And when your frequency is saying, I don't believe this is worth it, that reflects out in your practice. And so what I realized was what was happening was that I was attracting clients who didn't commit or wouldn't pay up on time or didn't respect my boundaries and my cancellation policy. And so I realized that, you know, I really needed to feel like I was valuing myself, valuing shiatsu, and that actually changed the clients I attracted.
Fantastic. That's just, I can so recognize so many things you've just said, Kindy. I really, it echoes a lot. Yeah. Mike, how was it for you? Like, have you faced similar challenges as Kindy just described, or how was your path in setting your rates and finding, I guess it's about finding your price, right? The price that you resonate with and where the outer world responds as positively as your inner world, and the two kind of meet in the middle. And if there's what would be the word here? If there's a certain dissonance, then you realize you haven't found your price yet.
Yes, absolutely agree. Because if you don't feel the price, you will not attract the people to this price. So it's very simple. But again, I was very lucky to have very good mentors at our school. And I think this is very important, especially in this discussion here. I think the schools have a very vital role because in our school, when I did my training, like all of my teachers, you know, they were professionals. They made a living out of shiatsu. So this was the field I made my training in. So it was it was more organic for me. Okay, they have their price. I want to be a professional. So I choose a price. Of course, you start low and then you raise the price. But you know, there are so many aspects to it. I think also we should not, yeah, we are discussing the price, that's true, but also I think it's important how many clients can you do per week? That's a big factor because you have a price, that's right. But also how many clients are you able to treat per week? Because if you charge maybe, for example, just 50 euros per treatment, which I would say it's a very fair price for a treatment, But if you're able, you know, from your energy system and from your technique, you're able to do 25 clients per week, you make 5,000 euros per month. And I think 5,000 euros per month is not that bad. So I'm always curious, how many people do you treat? And I would say between 20 and 30 people per week. This is like a normal scale to treat. And this is like 5 hours per day. I think this is doable. So if we have the discussion about like setting your rates, I would also say we need a discussion of how many clients are you capable of doing per week, and also train this, you know, like it's not like if you do 5 clients that you do client, 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 client. It's just like a matter of training, a matter of focus, a matter of efficiency. And again, like 50 euros per hour, it's a very fair price. I think everyone can feel like fine with 50 euros per hour, but then scale up your clients. It's very simple. And then you suddenly, you know, you come to a very normal income, very normal, I think also very nice income with 5,000 euros per month. And you can make a living of that. So this is how I started. And when I was young, I was a maniac. I treated like 12 hours per day. So for me, it was a good start into the business. And I think we have to teach young people too. You know, it's like, you know, if you really go all in, if you take it seriously, you can make a nice living of shiatsu. Not like surviving, always looking for clients. You can make a healthy income with shiatsu.
That's so great. Thanks, Mike. I love the energy of your response, and it kind of like it feeds into this whole like it is about energy ultimately, right? Of course it's about money, of course it's about how much we earn, but so much is coming up here, right? Our personal energy, how many people can we actually treat? What is the energetic response from the outer world? So that was actually one of the questions I wanted to address. But Mike, you've answered it for yourself, but let's have everyone's answer here. Is it possible to make a living only by practicing shiatsu? However, I would like to limit the practice in shiatsu, no teaching, and like really pure shiatsu sessions, right? Without any teaching and without any kind of, you know, educational practices. Maybe Anne, if I send this to you, what's your take? What's your feeling? What's your experience on that?
Well, the previous question is a long process, I think, from starting out from a school, depending where you train and how you trained and how it was. Well, coming to your question, for me, since I've been in different societies, like the training in UK, setting up a practice in Athens, coming from Norway, working in Norway, it's different societies. So I think there is a big aspect there to the differences in general payments, like 5,000 euros for Greece is, I don't think anybody makes that. Maybe, you know, some traders or something like that, but I don't, you know, I'm all for the energy and I go all in and to stick with it. I think it's also depending on the network you have in a society. Speaking for myself, since I'm in different societies, it can be maybe for me easier, probably in Nordic countries where people have more money, they have more time, they are more likely to spend money on themselves in that way. So it could be easier. In Greece, I think it's slightly more difficult to live only by shiatsu. Not being negative, not saying that you should go all in, and you should also focus on your good practice, yourself, developing yourself so that you can actually step up and do the treatments like Mike was saying. But I think it can be slightly more difficult. So for myself, I've always chosen to do 2 jobs. I think that's good for me. It's good for myself, and it somehow also takes the pressure off some of the shiatsu that I'm doing. So I still have a question if that is possible. I think it's possible in some places. I don't think it's so easy, not saying that it's not possible in some other places. but that's coming from my view as a citizens of Europe going back and forth, which is a little bit, and also the regulations in different countries. I think you have to take that into the account.
Yeah, and ultimately it's also a choice if you actually want to do this. I mean, do you want to give, we're going to talk about shiatsu and gender in a minute, but it's like, I think it's also about like if you're more yin nature or yang nature, I think that also has to play, like, do you want to give 25 shiatsus or 30 shiatsus in a week? Are you able to? Of course, these are again, different questions. Fabian, what's your take on things like,
Yes, it's interesting to realize each country have its own reality. So in Belgium, I'm very lucky. I can be able to live only with my shiatsu appointment, and it's my job for full time 15 years, I think, more or less. But I began to step by step. I had another job, half-time jobs, and I talk about with Kawada, my professor, and Kawada Sensei said, you don't need to make advertising of your shiatsu. The first time people will come to you for the shiatsu, and if you deliver a very good shiatsu, after a long time, people will phone you for you, not for the shiatsu, just for you. And I remember the first time someone phoned me and said, I would like an appointment. Okay, shiatsu. I don't know what will be happen. I say, okay, but how do you add my phone number? Oh, someone gave it to me. So I realized just there is a shift at that moment. So it depends of each reality. For me, I really liked what Anne and Mike said. What is the focus? The question is the focus. If someone want to practice shiatsu just to earn money, I think it's not a good energy. For me, the focus is a shiatsu, and the money will follow. If you give a good shiatsu, a lot of people will come to you. So the focus is more the shiatsu than the money. The money is the result for me.
Okay. Slightly switching the focus a little bit. How do you reconcile, because this comes up a lot, how do you reconcile the fact that shiatsu is of a spiritual nature, therapeutic nature, with earning money? I know that, I mean, I'm going to take the liberty to say we as a shiatsu community, we know that, we still need to earn with it, but sometimes for the members of the public, that is not so clear. And so there seems to be this kind of opposition between doing healing work and yet charging for it. Perhaps, Mike, how have you dealt with this possible or apparent tension between the two?
Well, I liked what you said, Fabian. I think you choose shiatsu because it is a passion from the heart and not because you make a good living from it. So I think most of the people start from here. But then, that's a big discussion. If we talk about spirituality, that's a vast term, and it is very many different interpretations. But I think this, I don't want to offend anyone, but I think this is a more new age interpretation of spirituality, that you're not allowed to charge for some kind of spiritual service. Because in the Asian philosophy, it was never like that, never like that. And I think shiatsu is rooted in the Asian philosophy. So in Chinese and also in Japanese, the character, the kanji for human being, it's like one line to the top and two lines down. So one line connects us to heaven, and two lines connect us to earth, like to yang and to yin. And our role as a human being is to bring heaven and earth together in our being and express it. So we have to take care of spirituality, but we also have to take care of, earthly matters. And earthly matters is, how can I make a good living? So just if we merge yin and yang together, if we bring them together, then we create a field of unity in us. And if we have a field of unity in us, we can go in resonance with a bigger unity around us. So I think it's even more, it's like the core of spirituality to bring the opposites together and transform them. So if I choose the yang over the yin, I think you're acting out of a mindset of separation. You have no unity in yourself. But if you have a mindset of separation, it's very hard to go in resonance with unity that is around us. So in Asian thinking, like the kanji is like ren or kito. Kito in Japanese means heaven and earth. Heaven and earth has to merge. So the contradiction, I think, just comes out of other interpretations of spirituality, but it never came out of Asian philosophy. And then, for example, you find so many concepts. I like a lot the concept of the 9 palaces of the heart. So which fields of human life you should focus on to feel like to have a very fulfilled life, also very spiritual life. Number 1 is health, and number 2 is wealth. Number 2 is wealth. It's number 1 health, number 2 wealth. So you find it everywhere in Asian philosophy. So I think it's very clear, mixing heaven and earth and transforming them and expressing them. And then we have the unity, and with the unity, I think we have spirituality. But this is just my take on it.
Fantastic. Spiritual and therapeutic, right? Like some people say, like, but you know, Kindy, I see you nodding. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, no, I haven't had any internal conflict with shiatsu as a spiritual practice and charging for it. Shiatsu has been such a gift for me personally, you know, in terms of my health. It's given me a great lifestyle. It nourishes me, friendships, and a spiritual path. So I've been nourished through it, but it's also an act of service. And that act of service, it has value. It has value for me, but it has value in how I deliver that. And money is a form of exchange of value. That's the way that I've always seen it. It happens to be the exchange of value that we use in our societies. And the realization of my interpretation of value was a real realization to me when I understood that our most valuable resource, our most valuable currency is our time and energy. My time, I'm not going to get back. My energy, it's a resource, it's a currency. And there's a quote from Henry David Thoreau, who's an American poet and philosopher. And he says, the price of anything is the amount of life you exchange for it. The price of anything is the amount of life you exchange for it. And so one of my points of discernment has always been how do I spend my time and energy? That is my resource. So how do I spend my time? Who do I spend it around? What do I do? I've got a finite source. And that also includes shiatsu. You know, shiatsu is a form of my time and energy. And so what's the value exchange for that? What is my time and energy worth? And that really helped me to raise my standards, but raise my expectations of the value that I expected back. And that helped me to value my time and my energy and how I spent that.
Beautifully said. Thank you, Kindy. Fabian, how about you?
I remember what happened 6 years ago in Japan. We were in a temple, and I met the high priest, and he was making the accountants of the temple. And it was funny to see him with a lot of numbers. And first I realized, yes, maybe he's a high priest, and he's the director, the spiritual director of the place, but he need to take care to maintain the place. So we cannot talk about spirituality if we are not in the matters. And we have a body. This is a soul in the body, but we have to take care of the body and the soul through the body. So we cannot separate both. But as Mike has said, in our world we separate everything, and maybe it's easier to understand it, but we're just to remember we have a body and we have a soul in it. So the matters and the spirituality, it's the same face of the coin.
Yeah, I see a common thread here in your responses. It's like it's joining of the spirit and the matter, right? Anne, how about you? Your thoughts?
I think well, a lot of the things that said, I agree, but I think my starting point is the good practice, the honest and good and solid practice of my shiatsu and my education, and what follows is to be honest towards my practice of shiatsu. And thus, if my practice is solid and honest, and I keep practicing and developing in an honest and heartful way, for me, it has not been a conflict charging money for my practice. I do not use the word healer. I do use the word practitioner. I will stay with that. But I think if you are honest in your practice and you develop and you continue and you focus your energy, it gives you the worth of being a shiatsu practitioner and charging money in a confident way. Now, how much you charge, well, that is a more difficult matter. But I think it goes putting yourself forward when you are confident in yourself really helps you to feel okay. Well, at least to help me to feel okay with charging money for what you're doing. And it is a service, and we live in this world. I live in this world, and I have to pay my bills and do all the things that we do. So for me, it has not been a conflict.
Okay, so personally, I'm always interested in practical issues and practical questions. So if we take it down to really the practical nitty-gritty, what could be improved in the shiatsu world so that newly arriving students who just completed their studies, I mean, Mike, I think you mentioned a fantastic example, but how can we help new practitioners land in the shiatsu world and establish themselves? Obviously, everyone present here has been in the shiatsu world for many, many years, so you've been through this journey, etc. But there's so many people out there, so many shiatsu practitioners out there who would like to increase their practice, who would potentially like to live of it. One big takeaway for me is that to get the schools more involved, to really to prepare students better for this for this launch into the, so to say, real world. I remember I studied shiatsu in the UK in Devon, and then I came back to Belgium, and I was here and I had no idea what to do. So in those days, we weren't trained in social media. That was 23 years ago. I wasn't trained in social media, had no idea how to go about it. And it was a very lonely moment as well, and I think like with this kind of worries of how am I going to do it? Is it ever going to work? That can be such a lonely journey. So any recommendations for people who newly establish themselves in the shiatsu world or who have been there quite a while, how can they regain momentum or keep faith? Any tips, any ideas, any words of encouragement? Maybe Fabian, maybe we'd start with you.
Yes, well, in other shiatsu, we are preparing a teaching on that subject, on that topics, because we think it's really important. The advice I can give, say, it's have a lot of specialists around you. So now, first, know the rules of your country. So just to have the rules and to know what is the gameplay.
Sorry, Fabian, to interrupt, but what do you mean with specialists?
Specialists, accountants, fiscal advisors, computer specialists, and we need to just to have some people around you and to have good advices.
Mm-hmm.
I think for me is the first thing I think.
Okay, so that's definitely like the practical side. If you earn amount X, how much goes away in taxes? You know, if you pay the rent, if you do this, that, how much is actually left? So maybe already break it down for upcoming students. And what about also about keeping the faith and keeping going? Maybe Mike, any thoughts and how do you prepare your students?
Yeah, as I already mentioned, I'm still at the school. Now I own this school, but we follow the same concept. I think students should treat a lot because you need your clients not after your examination. If you do your examination, you need to have clients. So it's as simple as that, you know. So in the third year, you have to do like more than 200 treatments. And if you really do them, you have your clients. And if you have your clients, it's just a flow. You just keep on working. But in general, as Anna, you said every country is different. Fabian, you said, the regulations are different. So my general advice is look for a very good mentor. I think you need a mentor. You need to connect with a person who has walked the path and who has proven that it's possible. So go to a mentor, stick to a mentor, and he will lead you. Number one. Number two, I would say specialize in something. Try to be a specialist in something. If you offer, I can do anything, that's nice. But for example, if you're really a specialist in trauma work, if you're really a specialist in burnout, people will come to you because they know you can fix problem. I know it's not popular to say fix problems, but you know what I mean. You go to a specialist if you really have a problem. So this is number two advice. And number three is just practice, practice, practice. If you practice, then you become shiatsu. It's not something that you offer, you become shiatsu. And if you are shiatsu, you will always find a way kind of to survive. Even I think if in countries where the average income is not that high, but you always need people that can help you out. I've traveled in so many places, but in the purest places, if you start touching someone, on the beach in a small village, immediately you have people around you. Maybe you don't get money, but maybe you get some food or some shelter. But I think the core is like really practice a lot. I think this is the biggest limiting factor in shiatsu right now, that people top out maybe after 5 treatments per week or top out after 10 treatments per week. And if we top out and don't do more than 10 treatments per week, I don't think we make a step forward into a professional recognition of shiatsu. So yeah, that's my approach.
With top out, you mean like do no more than 10, right? Like kind of put a limit.
Because if you don't do more than 10, you will not make a living from it. So it's always like your second profession. But we need more people who make shiatsu first profession. This is my profession. This is for what I stand for. This is what I can offer to society. And I think shiatsu has a lot of value to offer to society, but we have to make ourselves more visible. How do we make ourselves more visible? If we have more professional like practitioners who show up and say, okay, this is what we can do. We make a living with it. That's attractive, And yes, I see it. I travel a lot and I teach in a lot of schools. I think that's the limiting factor, that people are not able, like physically, energetically, and mentally, to do a lot of treatments in 1 week.
I love the momentum of the answer.
Oh, sorry, it's just
no, it's great. It conveys the message. The energy of your answer conveys the message you're giving. It's basically like go for it, and make it happen. So
just one more thing. It doesn't have to do if you're yin or yang type. Yin type might have a more silent approach, or maybe different audience, different topics to treat. Yeah. But you just have to become shiatsu. How to become shiatsu? If you do it like 24 hours a day. Yeah, that's it. Doing.
Yeah, that's so true. We become that which we do. Yeah. More doing and less thinking. And Anne, how about you?
I agree. Exactly that. More doing and less thinking, and practice, practice, practice. It was always my motto, and this is what I tell to my students as well. And don't be lazy, and keep on practicing, and also try to be proactive. And sometimes we get together. I agree with the mentor. You need to help people forward. and come together with older students and make like a think tank. And what can we do? Write down ideas. Have you tried this? Try and be proactive and help them to go out and maybe find for myself and for them to find new ideas and to promote your practice. But behind that, in order for you to do that in a confident way, I really think you need to do a lot of practice to be confident in your practice that you will show. I really believe that is a really important thing to do. And of course, also I agree with Fabian, the experts, especially with social media and all the things they were not there when I started out, and I am definitely not a specialist in any of that. So yes, if you have like somebody young or a specialist, it's a good idea. It's a really good idea. So but to keep your students or the previous students to get them together every now and then and check in and see what are they doing and can we do more or come up with the new ideas together.
Okay, so we have creating momentum and joining forces as two main takeaways. Kindy, any advice, any thoughts, any guiding spirit for those who really...
I agree with everything that's been said so far. You know, practice. I think it was many years before I felt I could feel key. I just practiced and just did it, and it's just through doing it that eventually it came. And also I agree with what Fabian said about surrounding yourself by specialists, but also educate yourself, you know, beyond shiatsu education, educate yourself in financial education, business education, and these days technology. It doesn't mean that you have to do it all, but to have an understanding and a relevance in today's shiatsu marketplace. But in order to do all of that, we also have to invest in ourselves. So I would also say invest in your own self-development, your own self-care. We often forget to take care of ourselves. Once we start going out into the world offering shiatsu, we forget that we actually also need to receive shiatsu or have some kind of practice that develops our ki in order to be able to sustain these practices. So they both go together. And as Anne said, find yourself a community. It can be a very lonely place to be. So find yourself a mentor and find yourself a community to be a part of.
Absolutely. Okay. Do you think, you know, just kind of like leading on from there, do you think there should be a standardized practice or accessibility models? Like, should the ESF or should we in Europe as a shiatsu community start talking about figures? And I mean, should we put, you know, really numbers on the table and really have like kind of like a guiding standard that first year student should be, you know, asking for this, second, third, and so on? Do you think that would be constructive? Do you think it would be supportive? What's your take on that? Maybe we start with Anne.
I think it's, again, coming from my point of view, being in different societies, I think it's quite difficult to set similar prices in different societies, especially in my case, like in Norway and Greece. It's so extremely difficult, different when it comes to the income of people. It's two different worlds, basically. So I think you have to adjust to that. But on the other hand, like telling to the students that they can take money then for their student practice and then invest that money into their practice again, like Mike said, that he used the money that he earned in the beginning to continue the practice or continue the education. I think that is a good idea. But I think it's very difficult to set a similar price for Europe if that is what you are suggesting or thinking of. I think that that could be quite difficult, and you have to adopt it into the society where you're living. What is actually possible in the surroundings that you are.
So should it be should it be like the job of a national federation to kind of take this up and have, guidelines?
I think, yeah, maybe suggestions could be a good thing. It's yeah, a suggestion to what you should take, and then you have the spas and the different health. I don't know, that have other prizes, but so I don't know, but yeah, a national suggestion is more likely to have some effect or possibility.
Fabian, what's your take on this?
Yes, I have the same idea than Anne. Maybe a suggestion from the federation, national federation, but maybe also it's a responsibility of each teacher and each school just to open the window, to open the question to each student and to talk about, because it depends of each reality. So I have no more to say about that. It's a deep question.
Kindy?
No, I don't think it's up to. I think associations can give guidelines and schools can give guidelines, and certainly that was the case when I was training. But I think pricing is very personal according to your own values, your own situation, your own needs, your own beliefs. And as I found in my own practice, I needed to find something that felt good for me and that allowed me to, have that value exchange and to really step up. So I had to find that for myself. And I remember my teacher saying to me when I was a student, and I say the same thing now, when people ask me, what should I charge? And I say to them, it's none of my business what you charge. You can charge whatever you like. You need to find that for yourself. You might have, and don't compare yourself to your colleagues. So you might have somebody who has less years of experience, but they have done a lot of personal development, they've done a lot of training, they've really invested in their practice. Why shouldn't they charge more than somebody who's maybe been practicing longer but hasn't developed themselves in any way? So I think that's a very personal path to take, and I think it's part of our personal development to navigate that. But certainly associations and schools can give guidelines.
Okay. Mike, your thoughts?
I think it's, as Kindy said, the price has to fit to you. So maybe you can give a range. That would be an advice. But I think associations should focus more on establishing shiatsu better in society. If we're established better in society, then we can discuss about the value of shiatsu in society and maybe get a better orientation. Unless we don't have a clear position in society, I think it's just too individual what you should charge or not.
Yeah. All right. We're about. I still have so many really burning questions. So I'm going to try to make this shorter, because then I'd also like to hear if the members of the public or the listeners have some questions. But how do you deal with clients who struggle financially? Do you lower your prices? Do you adapt? Are you open for that? Do you even enter that dialogue? How do you react? Mike, what about you?
Yes, it's very funny. I've been doing shiatsu now for more than 30 years, and I've become cheaper and cheaper and cheaper the longer I did it. So right now, I don't charge much, but this is my personal decision. I rather prefer to treat more people. So at the end of the week, it's more or less the same, I just work more. But to be honest, I don't like to work with this Bobo client who does yoga in the morning, osteopathy in the evening, meditation on Sunday, and like this cliche. And then they go to shiatsu. I like to work with everyday clients from the streets. I like to work with working people, because if you work with people like that, on the one, they are very serious. You know, they are very serious if they come to you. If you can help them, they do the homework. You know, they really change their lives. So it's much more, and you really open doors for them to a new dimension of life. And so I prefer this kind of clients. So I try to lower my rates to make it more accessible. And also, I think shiatsu works if you treat people like every week, maybe for like 2 months in a row. So I adjusted what I charge. I adjusted to it. I charge between 50 and 60 euros now, which might be quite shocking for a lot of people. But I could charge twice as much in Vienna for my situation, but I don't like to do it. I think it's folk medicine what I'm doing. I want to bring like this aspect to shiatsu to the people. So I charge not much, but I work more. So this is my situation.
Interesting. I did not expect this answer. It's really the democratization of shiatsu. It's great. Yeah. How about Fabian? How do you go about this? Do you lower your prices if there's someone struggling financially, or?
It's always a question. It depends of each client. I think it's a question of relationship. In my experience, some people who have a lot of money can ask to pay not to pay less. And when you know it, it's quite disturbing. So now I have a general price, and we can talk with the clients with a real problem if there is a real problem. But money, it's energy, and if there is a client who realize the exchange between shiatsu and energy they receive, the health they can feel inside us, money is not a problem. Some years ago, I treat a woman who were living in the street, and when she paid me, she gave me 10 euro, and just I react, and she said, "Oh, it's not 10 euro." And I said, "Okay, it's 10 euro, it's okay." And she replied, "No, it's not okay. What's your real price?" And I said, I'm not at my ease with that question. She said, "Let's fuck it. What is your real price?" And I said to her, "It's 60 euro." And 50 euro more for her was really important. And she said, "Yes, what I received, it's a good amount. 60 euro, it's really, really honest." So it's my problem because I think it's honest. And the price is not for me the main topics. It's a relationship and how it could be with the clients. It depends of each moment. So we can talk about it, but in my experience, some people who have a lot of money ask to pay less, and I I don't like it.
Definitely true. Yeah. Kindy, how do you go about that?
So I think people pay for what is a priority for them. So for some people, if they feel that they can't afford it, like Fabian, for me, it's about the relationship I have with that person and the trust that I build. So I might say to them, "Come less often." I might refer them to somebody else. Some people I will discount, so I don't have discounted rates as a matter of course, but for some people I will discount it, and that will be subsidized by somebody else who pays more. So I will discern and I will flex according to who I'm working with. But as Fabian said, sometimes we might make an assumption that somebody can't afford it. Sometimes that's a projection of our own fears around what we charge, and we project that. So I think it's we need to be careful about making assumptions about what somebody can and can't afford. Sometimes money's not the issue. There's other resistances. and perhaps that's what we need to address. And sometimes, you know, shiatsu isn't for that person. Sometimes money is an excuse, in the sense that, you know, for somebody who can't afford food and can't afford heating, shiatsu is going to be a luxury. It's not going to be a priority for them. But in that case, perhaps a much cheaper shiatsu treatment will actually be of value for them. But for somebody else whose priority is they'd rather spend their money on going out for a meal in a restaurant or buying a pair of shoes. There's no judgment on that, but that's more of a priority for them. And so however much I reduce my shiatsu prices, it's not going to make a difference. And yet somebody else, you know, they might not earn much, but their own health or their self-development is a priority for them. And as Mike says, you know, these people are more likely to commit to their process, are more likely to get more out of the shiatsu. And I might discount to some extent to enable them, to allow them to come and commit to their own path. So it's very individual according to who I'm working with.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I see quite a lot of response to you all seem to go quite a long way, you know, trying to meet the people who are trying to come to you. What about you, Anne?
Well, I think I have a kind of middle range prices, a bit like Mike. I'm not too low, not too high. I also want to be accessible to people, to more people. Yeah, maybe I could charge more, but at the moment I'm okay with what I'm charging for myself also. And I am open sometimes to make it possible for somebody to come for a treatment. If they cannot pay at that moment, maybe they can pay later, or they pay double next time or something. So I am open, but in general, I don't make a discount. It's not a then it will have to be some kind of exchange, which happens. You know, somebody fixes my tires, I give you know, a shiatsu. You know, I think it's fair. You know, they work, I work. So, you know, the tires are just as important as the shiatsu, or maybe not a good example, but anyway. So I can do that. But in general, I kind of have a standard price that is okay for me. And then I can be open to some kind of arrangement if people really want to come and they really need to come. But yeah, that's my take on that.
Thank you, Anne. So I'm just going to check in with my colleagues of the European Shiatsu Federation if there have been any burning questions from the member of the public. I don't know if Emily can just come online for that.
Hi, Irene, there is a question from Mike about mentors. Do you have personal experience in having or being a mentor? And do your schools offer this?
Yes, whenever I try to learn something, I look for mentors. It's been always like that. I had a very good shiatsu mentor for 20 years. So it was a very close relationship. And then I did TCM. I had a TCM mentor. And then I did internal arts. So as I said, I think this is very important. You know, you're self-employed, so you're on your own, on your path. Basically, that's shiatsu. So you need support, you need help. Even I need help in my situation. So I think it's always wise to look for good mentors. And of course, but I think it's a very special relationship, you know, like you have to find your mentor or your mentor has to find you. So I think it doesn't work like I apply for a mentor and we do a program. It's like if you're ready and if you make the decision, I think you will find the right mentors to support you along the path. Yes.
Yeah. When the student is ready, the teacher appears, right? So the saying goes. Emily, any other questions that want to be answered? I don't think so. Okay, So we're slowly going to round this up.
Sorry, one more question. Sorry, I have here by Pierre Breton. I would like to have the opinions of the guests on the following ethical issue. Do you think a shiatsu practitioner should make or set a recommendation for a client of a minimal number of sessions in the view of having to hope to solve one's health problem, or is it best and honest to let the decision of the client to come back? So,
Great question. Who would like to jump in here?
I'll jump in on that one. My own approach to this is that I build trust in my clients first, so I try not to pressure. And I have found, yeah, I know some people like the model where you have a package of treatments, say 4 or say 6, and price accordingly. I found that through my own personal experience that some clients feel trapped or pressured if you ask them to sign up to a certain amount. And so what I say to people who are coming for the first time is just come for one session and see how it is for you, and see whether you like my approach, and for me to see how I can work with you. And then if at the end of that session you will know whether you want to continue or not. If you want to continue, and then we'll discuss further treatments according to your condition, how often I feel that you should come. But I always leave that as a review after the first session. And then I'll give them an indication of whether I think they should come weekly or fortnightly or whatever, until their condition starts to respond, and then maybe space it out a bit. And I just find that gives them the feeling of ownership, but they also don't feel like I'm pressuring them. That's my personal approach.
What about you, Mike? Because you said you like to treat people every week, and you lower your prices also to make it accessible. Do you tell people, listen, I think you should come about 6 weeks in a row or something, or how do you handle it?
I think we would need more time. I don't get it why it's an ethical question. If someone comes to you, you have headache, and he asks me for advice, I have to say, okay, if you do this, if you do that, out of my experience, just out of my experience, out of what I have to offer you, it might take 5 weeks, and you do this and you that, you change your nutrition, you do certain exercises, and then we make a plan. The client is free to accept my plan. It's not that I want to sell more treatments, but I want to have clarity, because people come with expectations to you. I mean, that's the game, They expect something from you. And and if they ask me something, I have to give them a direction. But it's not that I want to sell more treatments. I just want to make a clear point. If you want to solve problem with like alternative or complementary medicine, you have to do something. Like people always, okay, you want to be fit for a marathon. You want to run a marathon. How often do you need to train? Find it out on your own, or go to a specialist. You can set up a schedule for you to reach your goal. What you do, I think anyone might find it out on her own, but it takes a long time. So my role is just, if they want something, I present them a plan out of my experience, how we could go to this goal. But this is just my approach, and I think it makes it very clear. You have to invest this to get that output. That's it.
Fabian or Anne, do you want to come in on that?
Well, I kind of agree with a lot of nice things that have been said, and I think also for myself, it's an individual. I don't sell this package. I don't say you have to come. I do the same. I come for one treatment. We discuss it afterwards, and then I also give my suggestions out of my experience to what I think will be the best for you, and how often, and how we can work with the issue or problem they present. So it's not a standardized process. It's something that we work on together. And also I am open to hear what they wish to do themselves. Do they want to come maybe once a month. Even if I say, well, it'd be good for you to come back next week, maybe they choose not to do so, and it's their choice. Also, they can listen to what I have to say, and they can, as Mike said, they can take it or they can leave it. So it's no, it's not a standardized. And also, I agree, it's not a why should it be an ethical question.
Maybe the person implied that, you know, there might be some pressure, or this idea of like pressurizing someone into something also.
Mm.
Okay, so just in the interest of time, is there any other question, Emily, that wants to be addressed?
That's all.
That's all? Okay. All right, so thank you so much to the four of you for showing up here and for giving your time and your wisdom and your insights. I sincerely hope that this talk can support people in the Shiatsu community, certainly raise some new questions. I think it's absolutely vital to talk about these issues because ultimately it brings us to the core of so many matters, as we said, about our journey, about self-worth, about boundaries, about the vision we have, you know, how we want to show up in society. So perhaps just as a closing round, maybe we can just go around and you take away one kind of like core nugget of wisdom that you take with you from today's discussion. Should we start with Mike?
What I take home, I think we should discuss more about this subject. It's very interesting. I think it's very important for Shiatsu because we have difficult times now in Shiatsu to establish really Shiatsu as a profession all over Europe. And I think it's exactly this discussion what we need. So thanks a lot for the ESF to make it possible to bring up this topic and have a talk about it. I think that's very important.
Great. Thank you, Mike. And Kindy, how about you?
Yeah, I want to thank you for bringing this up as well. You know, in over 30 years of practice, this has been one of my biggest learnings and vehicles for growth. So, but like as you say, we often don't talk about it. So it's been great to discuss it here and bring it out into the open. And for me, it's about all the different ways that we value Shiatsu. Thank you.
I just want to pick up on that. Like it is sometimes a little bit of a taboo. And then at the same time, the question is like, how on earth can this be a taboo? Because it's almost like, unfortunately, in the system in which we live, it's like the air that we breathe, you know, it's part of life. And so hence it's essential. How about you, Anne? Just like some nugget of wisdom or like kind of like a core aspect of this conversation that you take?
Well, it's great that we bring it up here, and I think that and we can take that into our Shiatsu society communities where we practice and where we work, and also for the students, you know, be more bring these subjects more into the present. I mean, we live in difficult times at the moment, and it's an important question, and we have to live. I mean, we have to take money. It's a job also. It's a practice, but it's also a job. So yes, to discuss it where we practice in our communities.
Fabian, how about you?
I think that kind of moments are very important. It's like small windows just open of each world, and to share our point of view, it open to a bigger world, to a bigger world. So to share, it's important for all the practitioners, for all the students. They can have some people to contact. Maybe some people would like to contact us, to contact Mike to be a mentor, and so on. It's really important, and I like to be in link with a lot of people. So personally, very selfish man. I like that kind of moment because it's like creating a net. So it's difficult time for Shiatsu. I think people who have experience in Shiatsu, in when we are in link, it's like a net. And students, if they fall, we are here to just to keep it, not to go too deep. So it's really nice.
Thank you to the four of you. And let's see what will come of this conversation. I'm sure it's gonna, it's like one of these stones that falls into water and it's gonna have ripple effects. So I'm sure there are gonna be follow-up conversations and so many questions. And I think we've opened up something that certainly is gonna have momentum of its own. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. And thank you again to Arne, Mike, Kindy, and Fabian for your time, for your wisdom, and for being present today. So this is the beginning again of the June Shiatsu Without Borders month. We really hope to hear all your testimonies and actions and initiatives. Just send them to us, tag us as being the European Shiatsu Federation, and we'll pass it on there shortly. It's all about raising awareness around Shiatsu. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.